Okay, we have started recording. I'll go ahead and get started. For those who show up late, you can always come back and watch this later. I will have this available on YouTube and over at Psychic Bitch tomorrow afternoon probably. But today our webinar is Introduction to Astrology. This is Astrology 101 for beginners, and we're going to talk about the signs, the planets, and the chart types. And I kind of combine things. Oops. Come on, don't work with my button. There we go. Welcome. Please stay till the end of the webinar because I will be offering a very special discount on handwritten astrology reports. And like I said, a video replay will be available by tomorrow afternoon. I'll post it on YouTube, and I'll be sure to get links up on Facebook. I will make sure that the player is embedded over at Psychic Bitch so you can listen to it there, or you can find it on Facebook or look for us on YouTube. What is my YouTube account? I don't have any idea. Probably Janet Moon. That's usually what I use on YouTube, but I'll get some links up, and I will send an email to everyone letting them know with the link, too, that's on the mailing list. Tonight I want to cover the planets and the signs that they rule. Also, I want to look at chart types, just the basic types of charts, and then we're going to have some examples reading charts. Here we go. First step in astrology, why did they pick 12 signs? I heard this. I really did hear this on one of those learning channels. I'm not sure which one. But they felt like ancient humans used 12 because they had 10 fingers and 2 feet. I'm sorry, but those humans that were drawn on caves clear back in France during, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, their brains were just as developed as ours. They could think just as high as we can, and I think they looked at the number 12 as a really nice, even number. It divided evenly between 3 and 4. It was factored down, and it gave them enough diversity, but not too much. And let's face it, 12 has just become everything for humans nowadays. Our clocks even run, on between the numbers 1 and 12. And also, let me go back, the ancients, and there's been lots of archaeological evidence to prove that the ancients used to really study the circle. They had a lot of fascination with circles. Their buildings, clear back, including Stonehenge, were built circular. They found lots and lots of foundation settings for these buildings to prove that they built their buildings circular like an igloo. Can you imagine what that's like? No corners to sweep. It's all a big circle. I kind of thought that was neat, but they really had a fascination for circles. In fact, the ancient Pythagoreans, before the early Greeks, before Christ, had already believed that the earth was round because they'd watched an eclipse across the moon. I mean, circles was very important to astrology and to astronomy and to understanding science all the way around. It's a fascinating thing, and we'll save a little trig, a circle trig, for next time or whenever. In the beginning, there were only 7 planets. The ancient humans could only see 7 planets. They could see the sun, the moon, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Actually, what we didn't know, Neptune is visible with the naked eye if you know where to look for it. If you know where Neptune is, you can see it with your eyes. But it moves so slowly that the ancients thought it was still part of the background of the universe. And that's basically what it is. The planets in our solar system kind of move across the background of the universe, which is the rest of the galaxy. And so what happened is what they did, back to the 7 planets. They didn't have planets assigned to signs originally. It was the Romans who decided to do that. And they said, well, we have 7 planets and we have 12 signs, so a bunch of these planets are going to have to do double duty. So they decided that the sun and the moon, being the most prestigious planets in society, and pagan society, definitely the sun and the moon were very worshipped, would be the individuals. And then they decided, well, let's put the moon in July in Cancer, because Julius Caesar, July. And they decided to put the sun in August in honor of Augustus Caesar. And then they moved their way out from then. Then they went to Mercury, covers Gemini and Virgo, then Venus covered Libra and Taurus, then Mars did Aries and Scorpio. Jupiter was the ruler of Pisces and Sagittarius back then, and Saturn ruled Capricorn and Aquarius. And can you imagine what winters were like for the Romans, having 2 whole months of Saturn hanging over them? Oh, they really appreciated Saturn. They felt like Saturn was depression anyhow, so that was a hard thing for them. All righty, we're going to start with the 10 planets here. And I'm going to start with the sun. The sun is the ruler of Leo. Leo. In our charts, when we look at our natal charts, the sun represents our characters. I should pull that back out and see if anybody's typing to me. Oh, Yuli's, okay. The sun represents our characters. When you look at your chart and you say, okay, my sun is in Gemini, so my character is much like a Gemini-type personality. The keywords for Leo are I will, I'm loyal, proud, generous, and, of course, Leos are expressive, very expressive, normally. But then, again, you're more than just your sun sign. You can't just go by where your sun is. You've got to look at all these other planets and what's really dominant in your chart. The sun takes 365.25 days to orbit, or the Earth takes 365 days to orbit the sun, actually. But in astrology, it looks more like the sun is orbiting the Earth, right? That's what they thought back then. And the sun is considered an inner planet, and inner planets we pay more attention to in astrology, especially what signs they're in. All righty, next one is the moon, and the moon is the mother, the ruler of Cancer. The sun was often considered the father, the Lord. The moon was considered the mother, the lady in ancient pagan times. The moon governs Cancer, and also the moon rules our emotions. So where the moon is in your chart, what sign it's in, can tell a lot about your emotions. Say your moon is in Leo, then your emotional side is going to be very generous and forgiving, way too forgiving, people with Leo moons. Also, you're still going to have that fragile ego like a Leo, even though it's your moon, not your sun in Leo. The keywords for Leo are I feel, I nurture, or for the keywords for Cancer are I feel, I nurture, I protect the home and the mother. So that's what Cancer really rules. And again, the moon is considered an inner planet, so it's more important what sign it is. Next planet is Mercury, and Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Gemini is the lower octave, and Virgo is more the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury determines communication. Hear me stuttering? Mercury is the governor of communication and how we communicate with other people. Also, Mercury rules our minds and how we think and our logic. Say your Mercury's in Sagittarius, we'll just say. That means, Sagittarius are such bright and happy people anyhow. So if your Mercury's in Sagittarius, you're going to be one of those people that just find it very easy to talk to anybody. You do really well on any kind of phone work, Want to work on a phone line? Oh, yeah, my Mercury's in Sagittarius. I can do it. Mercury and Gemini would be great for on the phone, too. Also, if your Mercury's in Sagittarius, Sagittarius love to travel, and Mercury rules travel. So you're going to be much more likely to travel, and you'd like a job where they send you off to travel around the world to be paid to do that. The keywords for Gemini and Virgo are I think is Gemini, and I analyze is Virgo, the higher octave of Mercury. They're both very adaptable. They both love details, and they both have very logical thoughts, very logical, straight-through thoughts. And they rule short trips and siblings and neighbors also. So, that's an interesting thing. Oh, my goodness. Looks like Michelle's called in twice. This poor old switchboard doesn't know which one to recognize. I've looked over there. Okay, back to Mercury. Mercury's a really, really fast little planet, and he only takes 88 days to orbit the sun. That's why we have so many retrogrades of Mercury. Mercury usually retrogrades 3 or 4 times a year, and we're always carrying on about Mercury's retrograde. That's just because he's so quick. He's so quick going around the sun that we just, he's constantly lining up with the Earth and going into retrograde. And most Geminis and Virgos you find are rather quick people. And again, Mercury is still considered an inner planet. Venus, another inner planet, is the ruler of Taurus and Libra. Venus in our charts rules love and money. So where does Venus land in your chart? If your Venus lands in Gemini, right, you're going to the people you love. Geminis love variety. You're going to need a variety of people. You're going to need to keep lots of new people coming in and out of your life. Also, with Venus ruling money. If your Venus is in Gemini, you're probably not going to be happy making working in a factory, making the same little widget every day. You're going to have to earn your money. You're going to need variety in the way you earn the money. The other McDonald is her daughter. Hello, Michelle's daughter. Lindsay, cool. Welcome, both of you. I was reading the chat log here. Back to Venus. So where Venus is in your chart will tell a lot about your personality, how you deal with relationships. If your Venus is in Libra, you just can't live without a relationship. But if you got your Venus in Capricorn, you can kind of tell, Capricorn and Venus is more like, I'm not going to say they're all likely to become old maids, but you're more comfortable. You don't absolutely feel out of balance without a partner. The key words for Taurus and Libra, Taurus rule is I have, and then Venus, the upper octave, is I balance. They're both very loyal and sensual. Harmony is very important, and beauty important to Taurus and Libra. And, of course, relationships, especially Libra. But Taurus needs his relationships, and they're so faithful. If that Taurus loves you, he'll love you for 30 years. They just don't give up. All right, next planet is Mars. Mars is still considered an inner planet, even though it's outside of the Earth's orbit. It rules energy and aggression in our chart. Mars also rules sex. So where Mars lands in your chart is really very interesting. One thing I've found doing charts is men. I've met men who have their Mars in Cancer, and every single man I've met with his Mars in Cancer, either he was in the Navy, he works, he has some sort of job where he's out on the water, or every bit of his hobby, he loves canoeing, skiing, boating. He's out on that boat. They just love the water if Mars is in Cancer. So where Mars lands in your chart determines where you really want to put your energy, what you really love doing. Funny thing is Mars in my chart is in my 12th house, the house of psychology, and here I am analyzing everyone. And the key words for Aries are I am. They're very courageous, impulsive, initiate things, and Aries can get things started for you. You need to get a project started. Aries is good. You just need somebody to follow up and finish. I call Aries the me first sign, and I tell those of us with self-esteem issues we have a lot to learn from Aries, because you don't meet very many Aries or someone with a dominant Aries in their chart with a self-esteem issue. They are proud of themselves, and they put themselves first. Neat. And I said Mars is considered an inner planet, so you do look at the sign that it's in, not just the house. Sometimes when we get into outer planets in here, we're going to do that now. We're going to switch on over to Jupiter, which is our first outer planet. An outer planet is considered any planet outside of the meteor belt. Mars into the sun is inside the meteor belt. Once you cross that meteor belt, now you're getting into outer planets. In fact, if you look, we said Mars takes 687 days to orbit the sun, about 2 years, where Jupiter takes about 12 years to get around the sun. My goodness, much larger, much slower, much farther away planet Jupiter is. But Jupiter is huge. In fact, they said that just the magnetic field around Jupiter, if we could see it, it would be as big as the sun from our perspective on the Earth. It's a huge, huge planet out there, and it's a big gas planet. And the Romans and the ancients just loved Jupiter. Jupiter is a very, very positive planet. The ruler of Sagittarius. Now, when we get into outer planets, instead of saying my Jupiter is in Cancer, because, Jupiter was in Cancer for a whole year. That doesn't matter. It affected everybody in the same grade you're in, So with more, when we get to Jupiter and on out, we look to see what house is your planet in. And Jupiter represents expansion, and a really good example is if you have Jupiter in your first house, you are going to be dieting the rest of your life. Jupiter just loves to expand your waistline, too. He expands your enthusiasm, he expands your optimism, but he can also expand your waistline if he's in that first house. So you look to see what house he's in. I have most every client I've worked with that had Jupiter in the second house usually have very good money going on. They have no problems earning money. They have lots of opportunities to gain money, and money just they're a money magnet, people with Jupiter in the second house. Wherever Jupiter lands in your chart, what house it lands in, will really tell you a lot about what's easy for you and what's, you get into well. The key words for Sagittarius are I see. Definitely Sagittarius is known for seeing the big picture. They bring lots of good luck and optimism. Freedom is very important to Sagittarius, and fortune. Like I said, it just comes to Sagittarius. It just comes to them. It's so wonderful. They are a neat sign. And our next planet is dear Saturn. This was the last planet that the ancient Romans could see visually. Saturn takes about 29 and a half years to orbit the sun. So he's in a sign, 2.5, 3 years he spends in each sign. So again, we don't look to see what sign is Saturn in your chart. We look to see what house he's in. And that's much more important. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn's a really neat planet. He is the planet of discipline. I call him the drill sergeant of the universe. Saturn will, if you've worked hard, if you've been working very hard and do what you know is morally correct in your heart, Saturn will reward you, rather sparingly, but sometimes rather well. It just depends, but you have to really be dedicated to what you're doing, because if you know in the back of your mind, or you feel this little guilt like I've been letting things slide, whatever you've been letting slide, when Saturn makes an aspect in your chart, he will slap you hard. In fact, because Saturn takes 29 and a half years to make its orbit, we often talk about your Saturn return, it's called. They talk about the solar return. That's basically your birthday, when the sun gets back around. But this is saying Saturn has traveled all the way around your chart, and he's back to the place where he was when you were born. And often when you turn 30, around the age of 30, people suddenly hit this maturity. It's that Saturn return. And then it comes again at the age of 58. And I've heard lots and lots of debate about what happens with that second return of Saturn. I went through it with some clients. I've gone through it rather well. Others have had problems with just about everyone. When they hit that second return of Saturn, they're going to have to start taking a hard look at their life and what they can and can't do. The key words for Capricorn are I use. They definitely are hardworking, and they use the tools around them. They're ambitious. They want paid for their work. Capricorns are very, very reliable people. Again, if your moon is in Capricorn, you're just a really great parent. People with moon in Capricorn are just big, good parents, hardworking, pragmatic. And the other thing I like about Capricorns is they're very patient, very, very patient people. And our next outer planet is Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. Oh, my goodness, we're already 25 minutes into this. Oh, righty, here we go. And Uranus is known as the electric planet, or the original planet. What was it? Let me go back here and look at this chart. I kept a cheat sheet for me. Originally, Aquarius was ruled by Saturn. And then when Uranus was discovered, and Uranus was just discovered in the last 200 years, because I have forgotten the actual time of Uranus. So when he was discovered, he became the ruler of Aquarius over Saturn. And so he's kind of the higher octave of Saturn here, Aquarius. They're very original. And like I said, Uranus is different than, kind of like Saturn, where he can upset things. Oh, yes. And you never know about a Uranus aspect. If you've got Uranus aspecting your chart in some way, it can come out very, very positive or very, very negative. And, it happened to me. In fact, Uranus retrogrades and goes forward and retrogrades and goes forward, so he often will hit this spot a few times in your chart. And when he crossed one of my PowerPoints, initially when he crossed the PowerPoint, my father and my best friend of 30 years both died within a week of each other. Boom, boom, I lost two people that were very close to me. And then he retrograded, and when he came back again about 9 months later, I met the man of my dreams, fell in love, and I'm still with him. So Uranus, you never know. You never know what Uranus is going to do to you. They're totally unpredictable. The key words for Aquarius, and I love Aquarians because they're so unique, is they're unique, I know. They're the rebel, the idealist, and the reformer. And as you all know, we have now entered the age of Aquarius, and that's pretty interesting too. But we'll save that for another lecture. I'm going over here anyhow. After Uranus is Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of dreams and the ruler of Pisces. Originally, Jupiter was the ruler of Pisces, so Neptune's kind of the higher elevation of Jupiter. Jupiter looks at physical things and expands. It expands our waist, expands our pocketbooks, expands our opportunities. Where Neptune goes to the higher element, he looks at the spiritual things to expand. Our dreams, our psychic, our creative, and our artistic work comes from Neptune. Our intuitions come from Neptune. Neptune takes 165 years to orbit the sun. So no one has lived long enough yet to see a Neptune return. And astrologers do forecast that when we hit that age, when we finally get human longevity to the point where we can live to see a Neptune return, is when our psychic abilities will then turn on and humans will evolve into more psychic beings. So Neptune's kind of an interesting little planet. One other little tidbit, in your natal chart, this is what an astrologer told me, and it is so true, where Neptune rules the tides and the currents and the water of the earth. And so in your natal chart, wherever Neptune is in your natal, where he was the day you were born, will determine where you're going to have conflicts in your life, because Neptune's going to pull you a different way. If you are born with Neptune in your second house, money is going to ebb and flow out of your life, all of your life. In fact, the only way, if you've got Neptune in your second house, to really earn any money is to make an offering to Neptune and go into an artistic or psychic or missionary kind of work. You have to go into the kind of work that Neptune respects, and then you'll be able to earn some money. But Neptune's a very, very interesting planet. And our last planet, the 10th planet of the zodiac, which is no longer considered a planet in astronomy, is Pluto, and the ruler of Scorpio. Originally, Mars was the ruler of Scorpio, so Pluto's the higher level of Mars, and he really loves sex. Mars is sex, but Pluto is lovemaking and intense sex and the really, really, roll your eyes back kind of sex. Excuse me. Pluto, as I said, astronomers say Pluto's no longer a planet. It's just this little tiny planetoid out there in the Kuiper Belt, which is this huge, huge, huge belt of ice and rocks and stuff that we don't hardly know much about. We can't see it. It's too dark. And our radio astronomy just doesn't get that far yet to give us any good, accurate pictures. And I know astronomers have downgraded it, but in astrology, Pluto is just like the most powerful planet in the chart. Where he lands in your natal chart is going to determine a lot about what, again, not in the sign, but in the house, is going to determine a lot about where your true intense passions are. And we measured where Pluto is in the sign by generations. Uh-oh, is my Bluetooth going dead or is my phone? Oh, I'm ready. I knew the phone would run down, so I had the AC adapter right here handy. So quick, there you go. Back to Pluto. The neat thing about Pluto is he's so powerful as far as the zodiac goes, and he can, when a Pluto impacts your chart, you are going to feel it. And Pluto's the planet of death and rebirth. He brings you, he will tear things down and bring you back up. He's those powerful things that have happened in your life that have transformed you are often from a Pluto aspect. I truly believe that Pluto carries weight of the whole Kuiper Belt. There's something else way out there in that Kuiper Belt that astronomers haven't found yet that astrologers can feel. We can feel this attraction. We can feel these changes and what Pluto influences. Oh, and before I got beat, I was just about to say Pluto rules generations. In fact, often we'll talk about the generation of Pluto in Leo, the generation of Pluto in Virgo. He rules whole generations. In fact, I heard an astrologer forecast Pluto just entered Capricorn about a year ago. He spends 13 to 32 years. He's in a faster part of his orbit. He's elliptical, so he's going a little faster right now through the signs. But he just finished it. So the children who were born while Pluto was in Sagittarius, I heard an astrologer forecast that they will be the ones to explore our solar system. So if we can all just live long enough to see those grandchildren grow up, and Yoli, your children, yes, they were born in the Pluto in Sagittarius, they will be the ones that actually go out and explore that solar system and tell us what's going on out in that Kuiper Belt. So it's a very interesting planet, and Pluto's very important as far as astrology goes. Okay. We've just finished all 10 planets. Does anybody have a question or anything so far? I will be looking at charts. I said 2 lucky people will have their charts done tonight. Since we only have 3 attendees, I think we're going to have 3 lucky people. Yoli says, I have a Scorpio. A Scorpio what? your Scorpio moon, a Scorpio sun. You have a Scorpio sun with this sun in Scorpio. Oh, boy. So you mean his Pluto is in Scorpio. Yep, and that's a passionate bunch, too. I just worry about those, the generation with Pluto and Scorpio might decide to get back involved in some conflicts. There might be some conflicts for those to clean up, but we'll deal with that later. I heard a girl tell me, though, I'm from the Pluto and Leo generation, the hippies, the baby boomers. We were the Pluto and Leo, and I had a friend say to me that the Pluto and Virgo generation is their job to clean up after all those lazy Pluto and Leos. And I just kind of went, and Barack Obama has his Pluto in Virgo. He's here to start the cleanup, perhaps. Okay. 31 minutes in it. I'm going to cover the chart types, and then we'll start doing some real talking. Here we go. I want to talk about the different chart types. If you just look at your natal chart, I know you ever gone to one of those places and had your chart done, and you get this big wheel, and you got all these lines going across it, and you got all these funny little symbols, and you're like, where the hell do I start? Right? I do remember what that's like. And if you can just not look at those lines, not worry about the houses or the signs or anything, and just look at where the planets are lining up in the chart. You can tell so much about a personality. In fact, often the planets in your chart, not often, but I bet more, maybe 30, 40% of the time I'll do a chart for someone, and I'll tell them that they have another planet that's even more dominant in their chart than their sun, and they kind of like, well, my sun's in Aries. I mean, yes, but aren't you listening? You know, this Mars and Scorpio is doing this. And, oh, well. Anyhow, if you can just look at the shape of your chart here and see how the planets are laid out on the chart, this tells you so much about a person. This is the first chart I'm bringing up is called the locomotive. And basically, the locomotive, the planets are kind of pretty much evenly distributed across 2/3 of the chart. And these people have a very wide range of interests. They're very open to the whole world, that kind of thing. And they're just pretty simple people to understand, right? They love the life. And to find the strongest planet, and it's not always the sun, we take and we go to the empty space of the chart and we move our finger counterclockwise until we come to the very first planet. And in this case, the planet is in Aries in this chart. That could be the person's Saturn or something. It may not be their sun. And if he's got his Saturn in his first house in Aries, I guarantee you it's going to be a very dominant planet in his chart. But we'll talk more about we're going to stay on the light side here. Next chart type, okay, bring it up. Here we go. It's called the bundle, and I meet lots and lots of people with bundle charts. It's not unusual. Remember now that Mercury and Venus are planets inside of the Earth's orbit around the sun. So they are never going to get very far from the sun. Venus never, ever gets too far, and Mercury stays very, very close to the sun. In fact, you have to be in a clear environment and up on a mountain to actually see Mercury with your eyes. And you live here in the Midwest, there's just too much haze on the horizon to ever see Mercury because he's always so close to the sun. So you're always going to have the sun, Mercury, and Venus usually pretty close together in your chart, and it's not that unusual that you have the others line up that way too. It happens quite often. So the bundle chart, these people, if you have a bundle chart, again, you can focus on anything. I mean, you have really great concentration and focus. The bundle charts that author that takes 10 years to write a book, like Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings. I mean, you can just stay focused for 10 years on a project. That's a bundle kind of chart. We're very, very focused. The only thing about the bundle chart is we have trouble seeing the big picture. We don't see what's going on in the world around us. We got our little blinders on and we're focused on what we're doing. Just like the locomotive chart, if you want to find the leading planet, you just go to the empty space, take your finger around counterclockwise, and in this case, our leading planet would be the one up there in Scorpio in that 6th house. Next chart is the bowl. The bowl is, now this is very interesting. We have the bundle chart, which sees life, in a very tight, concentrated way. Then we had the locomotive chart, and those people see everything in the world, but they don't really care. These bowl people, this is where the planets are just on half of the chart. They're pretty much evenly spaced around half of the chart, And these people, they can see the world, and yet they care also. They want to change things. So often when you find someone with a bull chart, they're on some sort of a mission, they're a cause, they care about people, they want to change things. And like the locomotive and the bone bundle, it's easy to find their leading planet. Just go counterclockwise through the empty space until you hit the first planet. In this case, it would be their planet up there in Capricorn. And this is a really fun chart. I meet these people more often than you think, and this is called the funnel or the bucket horoscope. And basically 9 of the 10 major planets, and I'm only talking the 10 major planets. Don't worry about the North Node. Don't worry about Chiron. Don't worry about all those little asteroids out there. That's minor stuff, and that's for astrology second level, 200 level. All right, we're going to stay at the 100 level right now. So we're just looking at those 10 major planets, and if you've got one planet off to the side and all the other 9 are in a fairly close clump there, it's called a bucket or a funnel. And I meet people a lot of times with this kind of chart. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly opposite like I have in this drawing. It could be over up there in Pisces, even in Gemini. Basically, that isolated planet has to be about 60 degrees from any of the other planets, at least 60 degrees, unless you've got a dividing line there. If it's close to 60 and you've got a power point in between them, then you can call it a bucket. It's a little bit more. You learn in time how to distinguish, but some of these are so obvious. And this chart is really interesting. All of the energy of the 9 planets focuses into that one single planet. And when you meet a bucket chart, that planet, that single planet, is going to be much more influential than their sun, much more influential. And it's funny how they work. I have a client with a bucket chart, and her Mars is in Pisces. And her partner, the man she's with, and they are really truly dedicated to each other, is also a bucket chart. And his Mars is the isolated planet in Pisces, almost conjunct hers. And I mean, these two just got together and they stuck and they stick it out through thin and thin. They are dedicated to one another. It's quite interesting how important that one single planet is. So you see a bucket chart, go look at that isolated planet. It's going to tell you a lot about that person. The splash horoscope. This one, the planets are evenly spaced pretty much all over the zodiac, not any real heavy big gaps. I mean, it's close enough that you really wouldn't call it there's any gaps or anything. And these kind of people have a very wide interest. They're a little harder to read. It's a little harder to read. And to find the strong influence here, I was saying you have to, down here in the comments, I say you have to go look at the qualities, and I haven't even talked about qualities, and you have to decide which quality it is, and that still doesn't give you a whole lot. So when you're looking at the splash chart, you can't really grab a single planet or find something special about that. That's when you start focusing and say, where's their sun, where's their moon, where's their rising sign, and you start looking at other things than the chart type. The seesaw. This is an interesting chart. Now, if they have one planet and then the rest on the other side, it's a funnel. But even if they have 2 or more planets on one side and then the rest on the other side, it doesn't have to be evenly balanced, but it has to be 2 or more, then it's called a seesaw. It's not called a funnel or a bucket anymore. And this chart is so interesting because they say that the astrologers say they see both sides of every situation. Yes, they do. But most of the time when I deal with clients with a seesaw chart, they're in some sort of a competition, some sort of a conflict. They're trying to get their boyfriend to change, or they're competing with someone at work. There's always something. In fact, people with charts like this are very best to find a job where they're in some sort of competitive work, out there on Wall Street trying to get the bid or what have you. They would be good at this kind of thing. Also, athletes and that sort of stuff with seesaw-type charts do very, very well. There's no planet, though, with the strongest influence, so then we really just have to kind of take a look at the aspects, the oppositions, and which ones are really tight to kind of get a feel for it. But basically, the seesaw, they're going to have a conflict, some sort of a conflict going on in their life somewhere. The splay. This is the hardest chart there is to read. This is the last one, and it's the hardest. Basically, a splay says they're divided into 3 or more clumps. And I'm going to turn the pencil on here for this one and draw this. Because here we have 2 planets in one clump. All righty. And over here, we have 4 planets in a clump. And then technically, these planets are all in a clump right here. There isn't, from the clump of 3 planets in Libra down there versus the 1 planet up there in Sagittarius, we have to have at least 60 degrees to call it another clump, or some sort of a PowerPoint dividing it, and there's not quite 60 degrees there. So those are all considered actually one clump. And the splay is the hardest chart to analyze. It really is. You cannot pigeonhole him. You never know which one's going to become the most powerful with these guys. When I do a splay chart, I tell them right off, I says, there is nothing that's most important in your chart. Your chart is whatever you decide to make your life be. You know, splays really get to choose their life and build it the way they want. But also you can then go in and look at where's the sun, where's the rising sign, where's the moon, and that'll tell you a lot about their basic personality anyhow. All right, let's see if we can turn this pen off. Oh, let's erase everything. And then turn the pen off. All righty, and I think we're just about done. Here we go. I did it. I did it in 41 minutes, less than 41 minutes, since I started a little late. We are ready to take a break and do some chart reading. And I'm going to switch over here. Right now we're in lecture mode. I'm going to switch us over now to what is called Q&A. Okay, and you might have just heard a whisper that told you the Q&A session. If you would like to speak, now you have to push *6 on your telephone, right? Do I have that right? *6, yes. Star and then the number 6, and then you will receive a message saying that you're in the queue, basically, and we'll start reading charts. You're going to love this. Let me pull this out. I'm all ready to read charts here. And I got my chart up, and we got it punched up, and I have right now on the screen, nobody's showing up for Q&A. Please press *6. Okay, don't press it. I'll just turn you on anyway, Lady Yoli. You'll get drafted. Anyhow, what we're looking at right now, I decided to punch it up for tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Right, this is the birth chart for the webinars, right? This is when the webinar actually began, and here's our birth chart. Now I see some hands going up. All righty, and what's really neat is this is what if you're in a business and you want to look at a business chart, especially astrologers, we determine when do we start the business, what's going to be its natal chart. This is the natal chart for Psychic Bitch webinars. And what we have here, basically, this is a funnel chart. Can I draw? I bet I can draw. Let me get back into drawing mode. Pencil. I'll mark on it. This is actually a funnel chart. As you can see, we have a pretty big gap here, but it's not quite enough to bring these two apart, is it? Oh, yes, it is. I would take that back. I remember taking the numbers on this. What we actually have then is a splay. This is one group. This planet is all by himself. And then these are all. A splay chart, the hard one to pigeonhole. There you go. We have a splay chart right there. And Saturn would definitely be our strong part. Saturn in Scorpio is going to be the strongest planet in this chart. Well, the sun. We got an Aquarius sun with Mercury in Aquarius. Well, that would be kind of neat. But, Yoli says I pressed *6 too. I see you there. I see you all. Okay, I'm ready to talk. Let me turn the pencil back off. Oops. I wanted to erase that. Go back. All right. I'll get the right button. Yeah, you guys can't see me when I'm pushing here. Erase all drawings. Thank you. There. I'm out of pencil mode. Drawings are erased. And we're going to take a call. Here we go. And we have one up. It's McDonald, area code. Oh, they're both 702. 203. 702, 203, McDonald. Which McDonald do we have?
Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a computer difficulty. I'm trying to get back up onto the actual, what you were showing on the computer.
Oh, you've lost your screen?
Yes, I'm joining. Okay, here we go. 1 second, Lindsay.
Well, tell me your birth date while you're pulling it up.
My birthday is May 26th, 1990.
All righty.
Yeah, my mother told me a little bit about you, and I was just so excited to join today. And I'm terrible with computers, so I've been a little bit all over the place trying to listen and figure it out. Oh, cool. Here we go.
For those of you who are watching the screen or watching in the replay here, the program I use is called Astrolog, ASTROLOG. It's freeware. Just type Astrolog into Google, and they'll take you to the link, and you can download this program for yourself. I'm a cheapskate, and personally I like the simpler programs, and I do it myself. So May 26, 1990, and right now I have your birth time set at noon. We're not going to look at times or houses. And look at this chart. My goodness, what would you call that?
I lost you then, but this is, oh my goodness, I don't even know.
Okay, basically what we have here looks to me like they're very, very close to a funnel chart. Saturn, I'm going to look at this. So, righty, I'm going to look at the sidebar for just a second.
Okay.
Your Saturn is at 2458, and your Mars is at 26. Technically, there's 60 degrees there. Graphics, and we'll turn the sidebar back off. There we go. So what we have, turn my drawing tool on. So what we have here then is a seesaw.
A seesaw.
There's one clump. And there's the other clump.
Okay.
So again, you guys have some kind of conflict going on in your life.
Yes. So more like a lot of conflicts.
Well,
I'm a wreck, in other words.
Gemini.
A good one.
You're flexible. One thing I love about you Geminis is you're very, very flexible and dynamic, and if people make changes, you're like, cool, that's cool. You want to move? All right.
Yeah.
You want to go to the dumps? Cool, I'll go to the dumps. Damn it, let's do it. Don't change. You want to make a change? They're real flexible. But your moon is in Cancer. Second thing we look at. We always look at the sun, the moon, and I'm not doing houses tonight, or we'd look at your rising sign.
Okay.
Cancer moon, and your moon is very, very close to Jupiter there. So basically we would call that a conjunction between your moon and Jupiter in Cancer. And so that tells me that, well, first of all, most people I meet with Cancer moon or Pisces moon have psychic abilities.
Okay.
It's much easier for you guys to just tune into things. You can just close your eyes and meditate and understand, especially with Jupiter there. Jupiter's right there to amplify the whole thing. Also, because your moon and Jupiter is in Cancer, I don't know if you have children yet, but you're going to make an excellent mother.
I do. I have a wonderful 3-year-old who's kind of helping me learn this all.
And you're just a really, really great parent here. You've got all the things to be a warm and nurturing mom. Up here, one interesting, your Mars is in Pisces.
Okay.
Again, that attraction to water, that need to work in water, but also because your Mars is in Pisces and your Sun is in Cancer, you would do well in any kind of liberal arts work or social work or psychic work. Pardon?
Yes. I was actually just today telling somebody I would like to possibly be a social worker.
Yeah, of course. Mars and Pisces. Be careful. It's a thankless job.
That's what I just was told, too. I was like, okay. Everything I want to do, I can't make money in.
Well, you see, you've got the genuine heart here. You've got the heart to want to help people.
Yeah.
And so many social workers get hardened and conditioned and learn to just go through the motions of their job and stop caring, because if they keep caring, it's going to tear them apart.
That's what I was thinking, too. I think it might be too hard on me.
You might find that your coworkers are a little hard to work with. And there's the conflict again. See, there's that conflict in your life. You're going to want to be a social worker, and you're going to want to change it.
Yeah. I mean, I've changed my mind so many times about it. It's been like an ongoing battle for probably the past 5 years in my mind.
You'd actually do very good as a celebrity psychic, too. You do very well in front of the camera.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so camera shy.
YouTube videos. Start there at the bottom and work your way up. You might be amazed. How many people like you? You're photogenic. You got that Gemini. You're just beautiful and photogenic. Your Venus is in Aries, right? So that just Aries are beautiful. Venus brings out beauty, and then Aries is the strong self-esteem and look at me and me first. You've got a lot of the good qualities. You'd make a really great online, video psychic.
I've really been wanting to get into it. I just started going to these like Reiki classes, and I've really been something I've always been interested in, and it's really, 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 really pulling me that way.
And I think that would be really neat. And you're still plenty young enough. You got your whole life ahead of you, Lindsay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm trying to figure out where I want to start. I want to get back up and going.
Yeah, and that's, yep. And you just got to take a look at your whole chart. And that's where you can start to think about what you can do, what you don't want to do. But gosh, you've got all kinds of potential here, just a tremendous amount.
Yay.
Okay, well, thank you.
That's very encouraging.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much.
All righty, thank you. And we'll move on. Here we go. All right, I didn't.
Hi, it's Michelle.
Got you. Oh, it just went ahead and brought you on for me. Thank you, Michelle.
Hi.
All righty. And let's clear this out. Oops, wrong button again. I'll learn them yet. Erase all drawings. And I can actually pull yours up in my files. Let me open it. Here we go. Open. Michelle. Open. And we'll actually then, because I know your houses, I'm going to turn the house system back on, and we can see your planets in the houses. This is even more interesting, because you have a really interesting chart, too. Let's take a look here. We can definitely see that Neptune over there in Scorpio, up there in your 7th house, is kind of sitting all by himself. Yep, look at this. Let me draw it. Oh, I just love these webinars. This is going to be fun. I thought I'd really like this. Obviously, Neptune's sitting all by himself right there. And these are called PowerPoints. This is the descendant, the ascendant, the beginning of the 1st degree there, the beginning of the 4th house there, and the beginning of the 10th house. Those are your PowerPoints. Those are the dividers. So Neptune's definitely sitting all by himself, even got PowerPoints divided in between these planets. Now we're going to take a look over here at, stop moving this thing so quickly, Mars over here and Jupiter. Is there 60 degrees between them? It's kind of close. Jupiter's sitting over here in Pisces at about 20. Mars, I don't think it was quite 60 degrees. No. Got to get out of drawing mode and get back over here, and let's pull up the side chart. Graphics, here it is. Sidebar. And we're going to look at Jupiter and Mars. Oops. I can see it. Jupiter is at 1147. Mars is at 744. So no, there's not quite 60 degrees there, but there is a divider. Let's take a look now. Get that sidebar out and take another look. There's not quite 60 degrees between those. They're very close, but not quite, but there is a divider here. So we could take a look at this and say, well, we've got a clump up here and a clump down there and a single. But because it's not quite 60 degrees and it's just so obvious, I'm going to turn my drawing mode on again. And it looks to me like this is your other clump. What we have here is the funnel. This is all the energy from those 9 planets funnel into your Neptune and Scorpio in your 7th house.
What exactly
I remember
does that mean?
When I met you on Blog Talk Radio, you said you had just come out of a marriage of 30 years.
Right.
Neptune in your 7th house, the house of marriage, and all of that energy focused right into there. You truly believe. You believe in one marriage for life. You believe in committing yourself to that marriage. Your husband is going to regret his decision. You're going to regret it. So this is your chart. You have a fun one. All that energy is in Neptune. So that really strengthens Neptune in your chart. Yes, your sun's in Gemini. And you've got Sun conjunct Mercury, so that really gives you a lot of good Gemini-Mercury energy. But that Neptune planet is just so strong in your chart. That's really what has determined a lot. And like I said, Neptune will pull you like the tides. That really has determined what comes on in your life, what's been going on in your life.
Right, yeah, it does exactly, to a T.
So the big story of your life, there it is. And that's the neat thing about our natal charts is this is what we're born with, but, some of these things we grow and we change and we learn to live with, we learn to adapt to. A lot of times I'll meet people who are born with a Mars-Pluto aspect where I could say, back in the younger days, you really had a problem with your temper, didn't you? But they've learned how to overcome that.
Have problems with what you cut out.
Yeah, but with that strong Neptune, that strong Neptune in your 7th house and everything you've been through, you would make an excellent marriage counselor.
That makes me laugh.
Excellent. You'd be excellent for counseling other married couples and helping them work things through. You could just the insight that you would have when they come to you. They wouldn't be able to lie to you.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Uh-huh. You could see the deeper picture there. Also, a minister, you could do that too if you ever wanted to. Or if you want to join the church and move on and go into a ministry. A lot of women, that's not unusual for women to wait until they're past 40, past 50 years old before they really start focusing on that kind of a career.
Oh, I see. So how does this relate to the future?
We're not looking at future right now. We're looking at your basic personality. That's the
gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
But if you'd like, we'll take a quick peek here. Let me turn the pen off. Oh. And you ready?
Now, if I go to this website and I pull this up, will it have any explanations?
Which website?
The Astrology that you were talking about?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things this program does that I don't know how to use. I don't bother with them. It does all of them, and the different kinds of houses and all of that, but it'll come up with a pretty much standard when you install it. And there's help files in there. There's a help file right there after you download it, lots of documentation right there.
Oh, okay. Because if you had not explained it.
You really kind of need to know astrology. It won't teach it to you. I tell you one that will help you to learn astrology, and it's not freeware, but it's shareware, and that's Kepler. It's called Kepler with a K, Kepler Astrology, and I think they let you download for like 30 days for free. You can try it.
Oh, okay.
You can try it, and it does have tutorials, and it'll tell you things, and I know astrologers that buy Kepler and actually sell the programs to their clients. They'll, print it out, punch it up, print it out, and sell it to their clients.
Oh, okay.
Kepler's that well respected by astrologers.
Okay, because I'm reading about astrology, but it's different to hear you talk about it and see the chart. Now I'm trying to figure out how I put the two together. You know what I mean?
It takes time. You learn astrology in layers. Just be patient. It's a slow process.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
But real quick here, we will do what I like to do, and we'll take a look at comparison. What we have now is the inner circle. Let me get my drawing pencil out again. And we have an inner circle here, and that is your natal planets. You can see right there is your Sun and your Mercury and Gemini. And then the outer circle of planets, don't mark on them. I never was very good at drawing, especially not with the mouse. The outer circle of planets is where the planets are right now. This is right, and here's something interesting. Saturn right now, right here, is conjunct your natal Neptune. Right now, Saturn in the sky is conjunct where your Neptune was the day you were born. So this is a very, even though we're looking at two outer planets, and we don't normally in astrology pay much attention to that because Neptune is such a strong planet in your chart, Saturn's now, actually, you know, what you've been through and all, Michelle, Saturn's now conjuncting your Neptune will actually help you to start the next phase of your life.
Oh, okay. That's good news.
Saturn's a drill sergeant, but he's also maturity. So here you are. Saturn's on your Neptune. Really, you might want to think about what you want to do with the rest of what you want to be when you grow up. You would be a great marriage counselor, minister, you know, what
right.
Your Neptune's going to call you. There was Saturn crossing that, and Saturn's going to turn retrograde very soon. Like next month, he's going to retrograde and back up, and he'll come back and do this again later this year. So this is just the beginning of it, and you may find that this is where you start to look at what do I want to do with the rest of my life.
Wow, okay. So it's not such a bad thing. It sounds like a bad planet.
Well, it just depends. It depends upon the person. And I've read for you already once, and I know that you're not the kind of person that you've been working hard your life. You've not been sliding. We get plenty of those at Psychic Bitch. Oh, yeah. That's enough comparison now. And we'll go back to turn your houses off, back to null, and back to my standard chart. And thank you so much for attending, Michelle. It's been fun.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate the chart.
Good luck. We'll talk more soon. Come to the next one.
I will.
Right.
Okay. Bye.
And let's see, is it going to turn? Yes, and it turned Yoli right on. Hello, Yoli. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Yoli, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I hear you.
Oh, okay. No, I connected it to the computer so I could hear you louder. And I was saying this is very informative, very nice.
Great. I'm glad you like it. You're going to do the next one, right? I think Yoli would be great at this.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, tell us your birthday, Yoli. Maybe I do have you in here. Do you want me to pull you up? Let me see. Do I have Yoli here? Nope. I don't have you in this program. Tell me your birthday.
6/1/82. So it's June 1st, 1982.
And then turn all of that off. And June, we definitely had daylight by then.
It was at 2 p.m. I don't know if that makes a difference.
It'll move your moon just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
June 1, 82, Eastern Time. All righty. Oh, look at that. That's an obvious. What kind of chart is that, Yoli?
That's a seesaw, isn't it?
That's a seesaw, obviously. That's a seesaw. And the funny thing is, let me turn my pen on. I really like this pen. Sun, Mercury, Venus. Remember I said these three planets never get too far from each other, are in one clump, and then all the rest are in the other clump. All the rest. So it kind of, the conflicts that you hit are more personal, I think, probably with your inner planets like that.
Mm.
And also the competition. I imagine you focus this a little better. I know you well enough, so I'm trying to take that out and look at this objectively. But you do focus a little better, and I don't know, are you a game player? Do you get into video games or something? What is your sports? I can almost imagine you in tennis.
Tennis. I did tennis when I was a child.
Mhm.
Right now I don't have much time for anything.
Yeah. Again, and here we go. I'll explain that. Right there, you were born with Saturn conjunct your moon in Libra. I mean, again, because your children are there with you, your children are your complement there. And Saturn conjunct your moon, you're a very patient parent. It makes you very patient and very loving. And your children are very, it's like your children are your partners. Your children bring you balance.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the moon is the mother. Your mother's in Libra conjunct Saturn, so you're a very patient mother, and they do bring that balance. But I suspect as those boys get older, your conflict's going to happen again there.
Hmm.
Be careful, Mom. Be careful. Don't be one of those overbearing moms who doesn't like her daughter-in-law.
Oh, no, I wish I don't turn into that.
Don't do that. Don't let that be your conflict. But there will always be some sort of issue that you're dealing with, bouncing back and forth with. It's basic chart. I do think that's really nice, though, having so many planets there in Libra. So here you have this Gemini, this perky Gemini, especially with Sun conjunct Mercury. In fact, were you born during a Mercury retrograde? Let's take a look. Give me the side chart. Sidebar. Yes, you were. You already knew that. You were born during a Mercury retrograde?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Ah, you were born during a Mercury retrograde. They turn that sidebar back off. Mercury, when he conjuncts the Sun, either he's moving behind the Sun, which would just be a normal conjunction, he'd be moving in its normal direction, or he conjuncts the Sun when he's moving in front of the Sun, between the Earth and the Sun, and that's when he's retrograde. So when I see somebody with Mercury conjunct Sun, I'm going to go check and see was Mercury in retrograde, and sure enough. Mm-hmm. So you're going to find that when Mercury's in his retrograde, life often gets a little better for you, often.
It's funny because what I was going to say, usually people don't like when it's retrograde, right?
Mm-hmm. But people born during a Mercury retrograde often find the opposite. That so finally, what they've been working on falls in place. Last year, we had those awful, we've got a lot of Geminis here tonight anyhow, we had those awful, awful eclipses in Gemini. Oh, man, what was that one last June was wicked, May and June. Geminis, it's over. I think you're going to have one little eclipse right there on the cusp of Gemini, but the eclipses are moving into Taurus and Scorpio. Your awful stuff is over.
Oh, good.
Last year we had the eclipses and we had the Mercury retrograde, and it was all going on, and Geminis were just going crazy. But it was more the eclipse than it was the retrograde, especially for you.
Cool.
And I'm going to be doing a webinar on Mercury's retrograde coming up. Right after Valentine's Day. Come back and we'll talk more about Mercury retrograde and retrograde planets and what it means.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for this webinar. It was very, very informative.
Thank you, Yoli. Thank you so much. It's been fun. We'll do some more. In fact, to let everybody know, I'm going to put Yoli back on mute. My next webinar is January 30th. That's on a Wednesday at 10 p.m. In fact, I'll be going on right after Blunt Bella's chat. Blunt Bella will be doing a chat that day, and I'm going to be the hour after, and I'm going to be doing another webinar on Am I Psychic? Basic divination, how to read, what's the tarot, what's the runes, what's crystals, different forms of divination and how to dabble in it, just a little taste of everything. And as I promised everybody, let me get back to my full screen here. We have, if you stuck it out all the way to the end, we have a special here. I have a special for everyone. Here we go. For the next 24 hours, I'm offering people who attended the webinar, or if you're listening to this webinar before 24 hours is over, a handwritten natal report for $34.95. That's half the price of what I normally charge. It's normally $69.95. Just send me an email, and my address is there, janet@sparrowmoon.com. I'm going to need your birth date, your birth time, and city, country, state you were born in. And these reports, like I said, are about 300 to 700 words with diagrams. I will put diagrams of your chart and my comments in those diagrams and little arrows I draw and everything to help you understand a little bit more about your natal chart. I have put this warning up here. It could require up to 6 weeks to complete. I doubt with only 3 people attending the webinar, it's going to take me up to 6 weeks. I put that up in case I got flooded. In case I do get flooded with a bunch of reports, it could take a little bit. I do like to take my time with these reports. I take my time and I write them. Well, first I spend the first 2 or 3 hours just with a pencil and paper going down and writing down your chart and looking at different things in pencil and scraping it all out, and then I start putting it into words, and then after I get all the words done, I go back and I make the diagrams, and I insert all the diagrams, and you have yourself a really nice handwritten report just for you. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, people. Thank you so much for being here, and